It's Ask the Expert with Ottawa Physiotherapy and Sports Clinics. Ottawa.morning@ctv.ca. Email us your question or on Facebook too. CTV Ottawa Morning Live. You can even tweet them to us, CTV Morning Live. And we talked to Andrew Dings just a second ago about lower back. If you have any issues, we'd love to hear from you on that. But let's turn it to Tierney Gunthorpe now. And Tierney, we're going to talk about the hip joint, right?
Yes, that's right.
Okay, so is this a common thing that you see people for? Problems with the hips?
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely a common problem. We also see it mixed with low back pain. So a lot of people will come in and they'll complain about hip pain and very well could be referred from the back.
Okay.
But otherwise too, you can also have a lot of hip pain is actually coming from the back or vice versa. Or the
So it almost ties in together. It's tough to locate the pain source, right? That's why you need to see an expert?
We need to see an expert, and we have to do a really good history taken on the person to actually rule out, is it coming from the back or is it coming from the hip?
Does heredity have anything to do with this?
There definitely can be a component of genetics, for sure.
Right, so if someone in your family has had a hip replacement and then they're, like for instance, my grandfather had a hip replacement, so my father has not a great hip, so I tend to look out for them at least and try and make sure that I walk properly.
Yep.
So what are some of the things that you're looking for in a hip issue?
Well, first of all, we're going to ask the location of where their pain is coming from, because a lot of times we can get pain, we can figure out where the pain is coming from.
And what do people usually point to?
So a lot of times it can be of groin pain, or they'll do what we call a C sign.
So right here?
Yep, right there.
The C sign, right? Is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
All right, I'm catching on. Okay.
And a lot of times, because that'll be like a deep pain they'll have some groin pain, and they'll also have some pain on the outside of the hip.
And that's all coming from
the joint.
In here?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, so if we take a look here, it's a complicated joint, isn't it?
It is, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so it's a ball inside of a recessed area in your pelvis?
Yeah. So the one that I just talked about, that C sign, is most commonly what we call a hip impingement. And what we basically mean by that is that your joint is pinching each other. So when the hip bone's coming up, it's coming up here and it's catching, either because there can be a change in bone structure in the femur, so right here, or there can be a change in the acetabulum part.
All right. Let's go to some pictures here and take a look at some issues. I think our first one is an x-ray, if we can see here, right up here. What is this an x-ray of, if you take a look at it?
This is actually just a normal x-ray of someone's hip.
And everything is the way it should be there?
That one's the way it should be, but where we could see a change is right on that top and that neck right here. We can see a change. So
between H and N there?
Yep, right there you can see a change, or you can see a change between the A and H.
Okay, so moving on to our next slide here, there is a much more detailed look, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right, because the way the hip is, it's very dynamic, and it can be unstable if there's no ligaments around to surround it to give stability.
Okay.
Ligaments attach bone to bone.
Can a person have hip displacement? Like hip dysplasia?
Dysplasia, yes.
Yes.
Yes,
okay.
Yes.
Is that something you see often?
If you see that'd be more younger population, we'll tend to see the results of that. Hip impingement can be a result of that. So a lot of people can have had that history of hip dysplasia.
All right, there you go.
Yeah.
So what are some of the things you can do to help someone who has these hip issues?
Lots of time it's usually that the muscle system is not working properly. Similar to the back, your core muscles are really important for the hip. So those core muscles are the deep muscles that we have in the hip that get turned off and don't work properly, so they don't allow to suck what they need. The deep muscles suck the hip into the joint to give it a little bit more stability. So if they're not working properly, then it's...
We've really been learning over time that the muscle structure that's built around your joints is really going to support the joint, right? And so being healthier keeps you healthier.
That's right.
It's a beautiful cycle that you want to stay in, right? So there you go. Is that the same for the back too? Muscle, better shape you're in, just pretty much you're guarding against issues?
Similar.
All right, so I have some work to do. It's good to know. We continue to ask the expert, and we would like to hear from you. Send us questions for Ottawa Physiotherapy and Sports Clinics. You have a couple experts right here. Take advantage. Ottawa.morning@ctv.ca or on Facebook, CTV Ottawa Morning Live. We're back in a moment.